Hi Capricorns, and welcome to your August reading. And my apologies, I wanted to have everything done a week ago, but apparently it's not in the cards, and this is because I have Mercury in Virgo, and Virgo is a master organizer, which usually helps me. I usually kind of like know where things are, even if you wake me up in the middle of the night. But this time around, this was not in the cards. Everything had to be done million and one times. For example, today I was just trying to start your video and camera not working, microphone not working. Okay, I fix one, I fix another. That requires for me moving this entire table to kind of like access to my desktop, and then you do it, push everything, and then doggy of course has to sleep under my feet, which kind of like really irritates me, that Velcro kind of like attribute of his. And then everything fixed, nope, doesn't work all over again. So it is just about 3 hours right now that I'm just trying to get this going, and even at that, from what I'm seeing, it doesn't work on a Zoom control. So let's make it go. I'm making an audio recording on the side just to make sure that hopefully we kind of capture something. So okay, let's see guys, you did very well in my click contest, right? So what is click contest all about? I said that I'll be reading, I'm just trying to see where I put this my list. I'll be reading in the order of how many comments and clicks I get from different signs. And I know it is just like when you and you're screaming, "Cat, I'm doing my stuff," but just keep doing it, because I see that Leos are freaking not allowing anybody to come close, but Scorpios and Aquarians, which were not very high up, did do lots of clicks. And it looks like you are keeping this kind of like moderate, middle of the road kind of like stature. So if you guys want to get it sooner, just make sure you click, you talk about it, and so on and so forth. Okay, so let's see what is in the store for Capricorns this time around. And you're having some preliminary jumpers. So what are we talking about here? I love this card in this particular deck. By the way, this is called Pre-Raphaelite Tarot, and I love the art from the period. Absolutely love it. It's not cheesy, and I wish I can zoom it in for you. I can try it again. But I also think that this is becoming even more appealing deck to me than Rider-Waite, and I hope you guys will not mind if I use that, except for Israel coming back. Yeah, the zoom doesn't work, so let's work with this. You have King of Pentacles, which kind of like belongs to kind of like your domain of the earth. Oh, I have to tell you this. I was preparing myself in meditation. How did I almost forget that? With the meditation for this reading. And it was not only a meditation, but it was also half of the dream. You know how sometimes you fall in a dream when you meditate? And I was like, Capricorn, 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 what do I have to tell them? What do I need to tell them? And initially, kind of like, just some words start coming in. Oh, I vision, concrete, not emotional. You know, yeah, sure, they're earth sign. Kind of like, not a big deal. But then, bang! Like, I saw the picture of one of these music idols that I admire, David Bowie, just came to vision, and he said to me, "Hello, friend." I was like, that's a weird statement for Capricorn, right? And he said, but you know what? We both are ruled with the same ruler. It was like almost like ominous, right? And I really didn't know what he meant with this, other than, of course, Capricorn and Aquarians are both ruled with Saturn. Now, he also said everything will be alright, kind of a thing. So that's pretty much, it was like almost like a blink of an eye, and kind of like it vanished. So I did some googling, and I realized David Bowie, of course, was a staunch Capricorn. He was born and he died during Capricorn transition. In fact, a psychic told him exactly the date when he will die, on exact it was like plus minus 3 days from his birthday in 2016, and he knew it for years. He was hiding his cancer, and I guess a message to you that I have absorbed from it. And I also want to mention his ascendant is Aquarius, and maybe this is what he meant. Maybe you need to be a little bit more like this, because that's what I'm seeing it over here. You see, even though this probably would represent Earth, giving the Pentacles, I always see this, and I don't go with what the regular schooling, like, I mean, sometimes go away, go against what the schooling is on tarot, because when things don't make sense, I'm not going to repeat them. Just like when people repeat, well, you know, we are made all out of water. No, we are made of exactly 0% of water. So sometimes people say things and then the crowd start to repeat them, and you know that we don't have that lame duck or sheep over here, not me and not you. So this card, to me, it's not the earth sign. It's not all of a sudden now represent you, Capricorn, or something. I really think it's giving you a suggestion of that friendliness, and I really like this horse. He's like almost like a Siamese horse with this kind of like dark tips over here. You know, I really think this is definitely talking about traveling, you know, along beaten tracks, but it's also talking about resistance, and it's talking about stubbornness, and it's talking about, you know, material needs being, like, I mean, satisfied. To me, this is the ultimate friendship sign. It's ultimately somebody who's going to say, here, I got this. I'm going to do this for you. Yes, I mean, I kind of like, I'm blessed to have you as a friend. It is like somebody really strong. I really like how he has this gold, and what has this gold shield on him, right? But then this is coupled with this Four of Cups. Well, it's a little bit different interpretation of Four of Cups. Like, we are seeing women completely absorbed in what they're doing. At least they're not bored, like as a dude in Rider-Waite in classical tarot. But I really think also that since fours are always talking about stability, and knights are really talking about almost like inquiry into what is going to make me stable, kind of a thing. Be careful that some really good opportunity doesn't pass you by, right? Because this is clearly also talking about maybe health, maybe strength, maybe being in control, but also, like, you know, that even if you are like stable, that sometimes you can push it too far. You know, that stability sometimes, you know, comes to like that kind of like stop, and, you know, they're not seeing that they're like something freaking magical showing up, right? So this is what happens. Well, I just need to get my salad or my flowers or this. Don't get absorbed in daily tasks. And I think that's what I'm getting from the situation. Clearly, it is really telling me that maybe you want to kind of like establish or re-establish control. Maybe you felt that things were kind of like coming, you know, against the grain. But stop and smell the roses. When you're picking the roses, start looking left and right, because this is usually happening, and it's usually coming up in readings where I see that people will be actually meeting somebody, that it will be somebody special who otherwise wouldn't be noticed, because there's going to be something, you know how they say that 80% or even 85% of communication is body language. You might be hearing the words, being immersed in a task, but you will not really hear and see what you need to see. So make sure you use your eyes, you use your ears, you use the smell in this particular time. So let's see, what else can I see for Capricorn here? Yeah, you guys know that I have a slight OCD, so I have to try to, oh, look at that, look at that, it worked. Okay, perfect. Okay, so let's see what is in for Capricorns for this transition in August. Keep in mind also, guys, that we are going through still shadow of Mercury retrograde. Hopefully you're not as badly affected as I am, because Mercury retrogrades are hell for me, and given that they're happening 4 times a year and that they last 3, 5, 7 weeks, it's pretty screwy on my end. All right, Capricorn for August. This one wants to talk, so we are going to take it into account, and we are here dealing with the Emperor reversed. Yeah, this is not, let's say, the great card to get, I'm going to say. But we do have Nine of Pentacles, pardon me, Nine of Cups behind us. And we do have the Devil reversed behind that, which is great. So this is kind of like telling me that, you know, you need to scratch the surface. So I really, I'm a little bit kind of afraid that maybe you are too much, remember like this Knight of Pentacles we got, too much interested in what you need to gather, what you need to do, like Four of Cups that we got. You really need to look the area. It almost looks like it's very internal process that has been happening over here. And given that this kind of like comes reverse, which is when I read it as the Devil card, it means one thing, but I really think in this particular case it is really representing you. So let's talk a little bit about this Five of Pentacles, and let's talk about what kind of like I can advise you in the situation, right? So, you know, this card surely can represent hardship or rejection or a negative change in circumstances. Maybe on some level you're going to feel like the world is against you, and you know that certain things or even nothing kind of like goes your way. It can actually indicate kind of like one of those shifts, right? Keep in mind we are still in Mercury retrograde shadow, right? And Mercury retrograde is like until August 1st, and then we have shadow until the 15th. So this can talk about unemployment. Directly the card talks about homelessness, right? But you will be the best homeless with a freaking internet access. So yay, if you're homeless and you're listening to me, please contact me. I love you. But I really think mostly what I'm getting here, that especially with that David Bowie kind of like appearance, that you're kind of like breaking your proverbial shell. Like it's almost like an egg, and you're hearing like beak kind of like kicking through it, right? And you're afraid of, hey, what is out there? Actually, you're not afraid. Everybody else is afraid on the outside. You're like the only one who freaking knows what he's doing. But at the same time, once when it cracks, it's just like, where am I? What is this? How do I go about it? Kind of a thing, right? This card also talks about, and that's why we see this like big Five Pentacles, very much like in that card. Look at that. Nobody is looking. These big freaking pentacles. There are money. Money is like in your reach. You need to look at it. You need to stop thinking negative in order to move positive. You cannot move positive. You cannot move in that direction if you are like living kind of like in fear, right? And especially even if you are in some kind of like distress. Like, just keep in mind that nothing really lasts forever. In your case, I really think that help that you can get, it could be in the form of moral support from your friends and family, but it also could be, let's say, financial assistance of some form, or also this can actually really talk about the kindness of strangers, right? But whatever it is, just take it. This card, fives are about learning that lesson. You know how it's easy for us to give? It's not so easy for us to take unless, you know, you have some big flaw in your personality, kind of a thing. It has to be in balance, right? The next card, Six of Pentacles, is going to talk about it. That's the lesson that you really need to learn. If it comes off a discussion in love, then this also really indicates that maybe you're struggling in a relationship. Maybe you're feeling that you would be abandoned or ignored, or simply that you are like unloved. And this is the card in a relationship that talks about, you know, left out in the cold by your partner, and extremely negative kind of like energy, which kind of like it would say, well, that's it. I'm just not dealing with that, because there is like one thing that you absolutely hate, and that would be going public with something. So this can kind of indicate also scandal or illegitimate children. I cannot even, I know how to spell it, but I will not be able to say it. Illegitimate children, or being in a relationship where, you know, possibly you have lots of financial issues or lots of health problems, and it's kind of like putting a big strain. It's kind of stretching it, right? If, however, you love each other, you will make a decision to pull apart, because look at them, they do have each other, right? It will be like, I mean, two of us or our family against the world kind of a thing. If you're single, you might feel rejected, or you feel like, you know, that somebody gave you the cold shoulder by someone, you know, you really kind of like liked and hoped for, and you were getting all the signals, but then when it came to it, it was like, what? No, I'm just like, I'm friendly toward you kind of a thing. So maybe as a result, you kind of like pull yourself back in yourself, and you feel lonely or isolated, or even like an outcast, right? But sometimes this card also indicates being a single partner, single parent that kind of like struggles, and the struggles that kind of like usually stem from the single parenthood, right? So let's talk about money, because that card clearly usually relates to money, and as I said, it can indicate unemployment, job losses, or even going out of business. So if any of that is you, or maybe that you're even reliant on social welfare, this is clearly negatively affecting your confidence, or it's causing you stress. You might also find that you have a job where you're really struggling and you're not seeing kind of options, and you're really feeling like, oh my god, I'm like that, you know, square peg in around kind of hole, like everybody is just crazy, and I still have to get myself up because I have to pay the bills, I have family, I have a baby, and that's what I'm doing it for. And yet you still feel like crap doing that, right? So money might be a little bit tight for you, but you know, you need to work on alternatives right now. As I said, feeling negative and kind of going in the direction, it's really not going to help you. So when this card appears, I would definitely tell you that you really need to be careful with spending. You just create your budget. You know what they say, like you have to put 50% of your money to basically stuff you need to pay: money, rent, mortgage, food. What else would go in that? All this kind of like fixed stuff, electricity, and so that would be kind of like one thing. So, or you have to work it out. If this is taking more than 50% of your income, then you have to work out the other categories differently then. And then it would be, I think, 10% for the other categories, which would be, one is I think long-term savings, 10%. That would be 10% financial freedom. What does it mean? You're never freaking touching the principle of it. It just 10% goes away. Just how the church taught us, like for so many years. Then I think 10% should go to education, and so education can be really to push yourself forward or to enrich yourself as a person. Hey, take my tarot school. And I'm just trying to remember what else was it. I think it was also a category about gifting. I'm not so sure that, even though kind of like they trained me that this should be 10%, I'm kind of like not sure about it. Let's say put 5% there, because gifting is also your time, and you guys are really usually generous with your time. So keep that in mind, that time is money. So there we go. I think these are the categories, and if you follow that really religiously, and you kind of like, and I think one is like, and the last one is like simply kind of like all this food and stuff that you need to pay, and goes into that, and this kind of like usually is where we spend most of it. So if you kind of like are very strict with yourself, look what's going to happen. You're going to be back and rebounding really back, because like with this being like reverse is really telling me you're sort of like spending a month on a banana peel. It's going to be very much like that. And it could be simply for some of you that you are sick, that you have to take time off work, and so hence not making money, and hence, oh my gosh, this is like another vicious cycle, I'm not paying my bills, right, and so on and so forth. It could be also stress that is getting to you, because maybe so much is happening. So if that's the case, just take a few moments each day and meditate and kind of like ground. It's very important. When fives, however, appear, and sevens, that really talks about that spirituality needs to be the main course which is possibly the really last thing that you're really thinking about, right? Because if you feel that the world is against you or that you have bad luck, like, you're not going to be happy and cheery and trusting and do all the stuff that kind of magnetize all the sudden like good things, right? So, but just remember that it is often that our hardships that show us our strengths, you know. So you need to embrace any lessons that are here and learn. And so know that this period of time is not going to last forever. So now you're going to see really what else we can learn from this and how really the month will revolve. Let's check the past, because that's going to give me a little bit more clues. And you're having a Page of Wands. Well, first of all, we do see royalty, right? We clearly see royalty. We see this like really expensive furs and white nylons. He clearly is a boy who one day is going to rule his father's, you know, kingdom. So I really think what basically he's doing, because he's a wand, he's going through, let's say, major education about it, right? So I really think that he still didn't get to the point of having everything together because he's not on a horse. But this is adventure. Adventure is the word that I train my puppy, and whenever I say it and he's looking at me, he kind of like jumps on me and he kind of hugs me. So this is really telling me about new opportunities. It is like really talking about proposals and possible challenges, and it's talking about fire and temperament. It could mean that you met somebody who is like, I mean, of that kind of a quality. It could mean that this kind of like person got you in trouble, that maybe it was kind of like a person that you started to date, or the person even from the past that came, and this literally is person in the past foundations and influences. But somehow maybe now you're looking and putting your Capricorn hat and you're saying, well, wait a minute, is this person going to get me in trouble one way or the other, right? So let's see what is above you. Karma, karmic influence over here. Isn't that the lovely card for, you know, judgment? So the judgment, as I kind of designate this card as one of my karma cards, is really talking about keeping the course in spite of the appearances, right? It's what you thought you have lost. And this can actually really talk, as I said to you in love, about loss of someone, and now memorizing them and thinking how everything was great and how you don't really want to be alone, right? We clearly can see it that way. And now I have to unzoom. Okay, that worked too. Woo! Thanks, Mercury. Thanks, gods. So this can talk about some kind of renewal and revelation, redemption. Maybe you're going to be receiving some kind of like apology over here. It's almost like that you have been with somebody who just didn't see kind of like what you're bringing on board, because they have been more into let's do this, let's do that. Your quality is like that slow and steady, that you really want to mull over your decision, go in the right direction. But this person was like, no, let's do this, which is very appealing when you're starting to date. But when you kind of like get into a relationship, when you're over that honeymoon period, then you go, okay, this is great, but my savings is going to melt like that, or I really don't want to be out 7 days, seven evenings per week, and that kind of stuff. Also, when this card appears upright, it's really telling me that, hey, it's all good. You have been making right decision. You are on the right path. Keep going. Very important to understand. So the very next, we are going to look into the immediate future and what that can bring for you. We have the Empress. So it's kind of hopes and wishes for somebody to reappear. The Empress is like that really strong force. You might have, let's say, an ideal woman that you're trying to call, or you want a man who is really nurturing. When Empress reverses, like, it's kind of like can get creepy, right? You could be dealing also with Taurus. You might be dealing with Libra, I guess check your Venus, guys. I forgot to say that you probably, because this is general reading, should check your ascendant. You should check your moon sign, because they're giving you kind of like the different aspects of, you know, who you really are. Especially when you get a general reading like this, it can kind of like make more sense, right? So when the Empress reverses, and I really think that's possibly the key, that's what's going to tell me, that is really telling me and connecting me over here. It almost looks like there was some kind of like neglect, that it was like a disconnect. Maybe you had a person where I guess you didn't see eye to eye things clearly, and there is like some kind of resistance to change. This could be you, that could be them, can be both, right? And for you, this is motivated with, it's not same old, same old. Just you need to understand that every person bringing in your life is bringing something, right? So if you want to drink, I don't know, just the drink that you like to have, let's say pina colada, water, whatever this is, another person says, well, you know, let's put, you know, a little bit of, I don't know, raspberry in your pina colada, and all of a sudden start getting red. It's like, ooh, I just like want it to be nice and yellow, and just kind of like to see that way, and with lots of ice, please, right? Person says, oh, live a little, live a little. So it could be that somebody is overpowering, and somebody's kind of like pushing things on you, and you're not feeling comfortable, because look at this. I'm seeing these 2 threes, and threes are about creativity. Maybe you feel like your creativity is stalling. Maybe you feel like you're not performing your best. Maybe, you know, you have been really tapping yourself on the shoulders. Hey, you know, like, I mean, I always come up with some good ideas, and now those ideas are not coming through. Well, that's possibly because, well, you cannot go forward and you cannot go backward at the same time. Because I'm seeing here that there are things that are going to be popping up, popping up, right? And they'll be popping up because you need to clear them. You need to work with them, right? So also, if I just look at these few cards over here, right, in this line, so far 3 and 6 are 9, and then we have 9 and 3 is 12. So that's kind of like whole energy of hesitation. There's like this whole energy of, okay, I'm not moving forward, and I'm not moving forward. So when you start feeling in real life that energy, most people just, first thought is not go to tarot. First thought, unless you're a tarot reader, and like immediately go, oh, the hangman, that's what it is. You just keep pushing more and more and more. Maybe you need to not resist. Maybe you just need to allow, and just say, okay, you want me to stop for a day, let me stop for a day, let me see where this kind of like goes, right? So this is kind of like going to be very important, because it almost looks to me that you are maybe fighting against some kind of forces. Maybe somebody's telling you something, maybe somebody's too whiny, and maybe you're saying to yourself, I don't want to be around whiny person. Maybe you're saying to yourself, am I becoming whiny? I don't like myself that way, and kind of like it's making you feel depressed, right? So I see it can be a combination of quite a few things. So the very next thing is going to be telling me really like very much inside what is kind of like boiling under the skin. Wow. Yes and yes and yes. This is also energy of 3, by the way. 21, 2 and 1, 3. So 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, 3 is really what I see pretty much across the board. 333 is an angelic message, guys. You need to put certain things to rest. Absolutely. Certain things are popping up because you need to deal with them, and then never again you'll be deal with that again. When I see this card in this category over here about you, I cannot congratulate you more. It really tells me that, you know, also the Hangman is also energy of 3, right? It's card usually number 12. It's a 1 and 2 is 3. So you kind of like have across this kind of like possible Neptunian kind of like influence. Check your Neptune, guys, because it is kind of an indication that it is time to end those old ways, and you need to release any kind of like restrictions, right? Look at this. We see this release. We see that everywhere. Something was started. It was like this drumming started, but you were standing on the side, and you were really not jumping in. You were like shy. You felt, well, this is not proper. I don't know how to do it. The truth is there is like a main place where you really need to go, because the world goes back to Saturn, and Saturn is your ruler, right? So yes, the world is the final destination of your journey, and this is like where it talks about the deeper understanding and understanding where you are in this whole position. And you're not in thinking like I'm just a little speck, you know, in this universe. No, you're actually totally getting it. Where is your role, and how all of efforts came full cycle, right? So look at this, 20 and 21. It is like shifting. It's like shifting like nothing before. Absolutely lovely. This is completion. This is satisfaction, and also can actually indicate travel, and can indicate fulfillment of certain wishes or certain goals that you really wanted to have or planned or pushing to accomplish, but they were iffy. But now this is it. This is it. Maybe you guys are also a little bit concerned about shedding those ideas or jumping in a frying pan. Maybe you had too much of a good thing and it didn't go anywhere, and maybe it was somebody with whom you had a fling, and maybe you thought you kind of like put him on a pedestal, because to me the Empress would be a ideal woman, but she came reversed. So somebody's really showing you, maybe not I said maybe 5,000 times, somebody is showing you not very desirable traits of theirs. But before you jump to kind of like render your verdict, just ask yourself, do I have any flaws? And if I don't have any flaws, well, that's the problem, kind of a thing, because it's so much easier to connect when we become imperfect and together we make this perfection, right? So let's see your environment. And then we have wands again, and there is like this 7 of wands, and 7 of wands in this particular case almost like looks like a binocular over here, something that he really wants to see it, because clearly you don't defend yourself this way. I don't know really what he's doing, because 7 of wands generally, and I'm not going to go by general, I'll really go with this painting, but I'm going to tell you what generally really talks about maintaining your kind of like guard, and no, it has to be this way. So in this particular deck, right, this 7 of wands is more or less talking about somebody kind of like carefully, I would say very carefully choosing what they're going to do next, right? It's almost like that you want to tackle those who want to put kind of like a spanner in your works, because this is like clearly about self-assertion and preparation. There is like somebody who is kind of guarded, and you have to ask yourself, because this is in your environment, why are people guarded over here? Why are you feeling that something needs to be defended? Because it almost like tells me they're defending their dreams. Like this young man or young woman could be very artistic over here, right? So keep in mind that somebody feels that they found their path. I also feel that maybe here could be age difference in some of the stuff, because that sentence kind of appears. I will have to clarify this card to get a full meaning, because sevens are really also connecting with motion and with action, and again, wands are connecting to something from the past. Somebody from the past entering here. Somebody from the past also wants to reassert, well, kind of like, did you change your mind? So they're not entering to apologize, even though here I see apology, which could be you, it could be somebody else. But there's like somebody re-entering to assert the same situation that it was. So you kind of like will be responding to that situation differently. This is coming after this world card, and it's really important to understand it, because you're not going to look at these things and saying okay, whatever, kind of a thing. You're going to kind of completely approach it differently. You're not going to feel that, okay, we are butting heads over here. You're going to see that, okay, why are you feeling that way, and is there something that I'm missing? It's almost like it's going to be the crack. It's going to be the open mind that is going to start to happen. So hopes and fears. I was just about to say here, wait a minute, we have a 7, we didn't see 7, and now we have 2 of the 7s. So 7s are magical, right? Just like the 5. That's what I told you, 5 and 7s, kind of like dealing with readjustments, right? So this dude over here is the lord of all the knights in tarot. So he's telling them, we are going into battle, we are ruling you, in this direction we go. It can talk also very much of a Cancerian energy, and I really think this can actually talk about Mercury retrograde, because the shadow is kind of going back in Cancer before it starts moving forward properly, right? So this is about reaching goals, hopes and fears. Remember, this card is being seen both ways. I want to reach my goals, right? But you also need to become master of your means, and I have seen that here as well, right? I have seen it. You guys are already a master. Maybe some of you are saying, I have studied enough, I know my job in and out. This is about something else. That mastery is about something else. Maybe it could be interpersonal relationship or ships that we always have to kind of like really deal with, right? Maybe it is about, you know, how we approach things. Maybe not from the left, maybe from the right. Maybe we kind of go forward over here. Keep in mind that the card that we had before this card is the Lover's card. So it was a decision we need to make, which can talk about a split. It can talk about enhancement of the situation. Let's remember what card is after that. It's the Strength, or Strength rather to say. And this is really talking about kind of like adding a finesse, because this guy is going to knock the door down. This guy is going to say, I'm here. And in the next card, somebody's going to say, okay, let me clean the mess. I mean, apologizing for this Chariot, but I'm the king, which we kind of like saw it here. So we can see that like nicely traveling over here. So yes, astrological correspondence is to Cancer, so it can talk about emotions, it can talk about willpower, determination, it can talk about challenge. We can see the challenge over here. So it's going to be a battle of the wills in this particular time, right? So this Chariot here reminds us to be very kind of like steadfast and exude self-control in situations. So it's very important, and I think it's going to be something kind of like quote-unquote newfound in your situation. Not that you haven't been confident before, but this is going to be exhibited differently in this particular time and place. And finally, and I'm glad to say that this card is actually the one that kind of like really doesn't describe the month, but it is still kind of like telling us what is possibly the new phase will enter and what kind of like issues can arise as well. So it is Nine of Swords. Well, Nine of Swords, as you can see, it feels like that she's trapped. She's not necessarily trapped in prison, but we can see that the rose has been dropped, right? And that she's simply kind of like in her own thoughts. Which movie she reminded me of? Oh my gosh, Fish Called Wanda came through my head, and you will laugh if you never watch Fish Called Wanda. There is like this amazing actor Kevin Kline who was always sniffing his armpits, and that kind of like gave him quote-unquote special powers. And I'm sorry for the association, but it's really, really funny. And I'm really glad that I got that association, because it's really going to be telling me that, you know, you're going to start ridiculing yourself. You're going to start laughing at yourself. This is the best medicine, when we can kind of like see, hey, I shouldn't be taking myself this seriously, right? So Nine of Swords can also talk about issues sleeping, and kind of like some of you having possibly then financial problems, like keep you up at night, but it is reversed. So when it reverses, it does talk about now looking into this objectivity, kind of like, as I said, laughing at yourself, and recovery and revelation, just like as we see it here, crowning. So I think it's really, really cool that this is happening. So guys, if you are feeling that fear and are like in anticipation of something bad happening, or you're feeling trapped, this is a good read. Things are moving forward. Things are moving forward in a good way. You have like these four major arcanas, which are clearly kind of like telling the story of big things, but also of the small things that are going to get resolved along the way. So I actually want to clarify a few cards over here for you. And I usually clarify when, you know, there are multiple meanings of the card, which kind of like don't necessarily really jump at me. So let's see this like Five of Pentacles over here. What is this all about? And we are seeing gift, and constancy. So now why is this constancy over here? I'm wondering here if you're feeling guilty of something. I'm wondering here if somebody blamed you, or you're blaming somebody of taking advantage of you. I'm also wondering if you guys here are, because look at this, it's like this magic eye, just like looking at you, staring at you, everything is seen, right? I'm also feeling that possibly that somebody kind of like took you out of your own course and you found it like very amusing, and now you're feeling, oh my goodness, like, I mean, I'm going to be punished for it. It's a deeply rooted fear of abandoning something that is really kind of like ingrained inside of you. And this is possibly why everything else, like when somebody presses the fear button, and then a whole bunch of like stuff that has been like in that little box are activated. It's starting to swirl and different things are coming to the surface. So it's really telling you, hey, you know, sure, routine is great, but this is giving you time to re-examine, like, I mean, who is the person who is there for you, who is not person who is there for you, how you're kind of like approaching certain things in certain situation, and so on and so forth. So let's see, just like 9 of Pentacles over here. 9 of Pentacles is, oh, I got 3 cards. And we have Sweetheart and Lover. Oh my gosh, you have a couple. You really, as I said to you, you see, like, cards don't lie. And you don't want to be solo, and it might be a communication from somebody from the past. What I don't like about this, yes, if you're asking for somebody from the past, it looks like they are going to come back. It looks like it's very kind of like strong indication. But also I do have to tell you that I don't want you to do that because you don't want to be alone, because you're fearing a financial demise in the future, or because you want to bring them in your life, but you don't want to change, and it has to be still kind of like constrained, right? So that's going to be a battle you guys are going to have. You want this person, but you also want your what you call it, the gold standard, how you kind of deal with things. So it's really important to kind of like figure out which way it is. You like this person's youthfulness, and I don't really assign age to it, because you can be youthful at 80 because somebody was like doing things, and that kind of like was very appealing to you. But also you are noticing things about this person that are not really necessarily in your ideal list, you know. Dr. Phil says you have to have a list. Just that lists are destroying lots of marriages and lots of relationships, because these lists are too extensive. This list should only say a decent person, moral person, person I'm attracted to, and person with whom I'm going to love to hold hands. Pretty much my opinion. But you correct me, guys, in the comments if it's different. I'm going to sneeze, so sorry. Bless you too, and thank you. If I forget to erase it, like, just let me know. And I want to see this dude over here. Yeah, of course we can check that. Empress reversed as well, because this dude is in your environment. And look at that, falseness and malady. And I really think this is something you actually agree with this person. It's kind of like weird when people fight and they both want the same thing, right? And then they break up, and then years later it's like, well, wait a minute, this could have been easily meant to work. And why was I so, like, I mean, aggrieved about the situation, right? Because we see here a kitty cat fighting snake, and kind of like, no, you're not coming in, off you go, my territory, right? And an alley cat sort of a thing. And this to me always talks about depression. So somebody does want you back, but they don't want to sell their soul about it. So be very careful about the controlling ways, because I think that's going to be kind of like brought in a conversation. So maybe you're going to also say, well, you know, I have been depressed or something. So you have to figure out, you don't want to patter around, you don't want to do things, or you want to be depressed. They're like sort of like lots of things that I think is going to fall in Sometimes separating from a person and having a trial separation is really good, because you are not as sensitive to the issues that seem to be big. You kind of like put them in perspective. I also think you kind of like understand, wait a minute, do I really need everything on my list? Do I need to redefine my list? How about I throw away, 12 pages of that crap that I wrote, right? So, okay, she's not the model type, or okay, he is not the richest person on the planet, but hey, I love this person, kind of a thing. So the Empress, and we are seeing journey, and we are seeing fidelity, loyalty. Well, I really think there is like sometimes an issue, especially when we date people we meet online. The people approach the dating online is just like, let me take this out to give it a point. You just imagine this is a menu at a restaurant, and that menu is that your list. Yeah, attractive. Yeah, okay, fine. 7 out of 10. Okay, fine. I don't mind this. But then you find something that is like freaking amazing, whatever it is, steak, right? Whatever it is for you. And then you say, I want a freaking steak. I want a freaking steak. I want a freaking steak. And then you get a steak every day and every day and every day and every day. And then go, you know what? I really want a stew. I'm tired of the steak. Also, kind of like, the thing is like, you need a special tools for the steak, you need a special knife, you need this. And it's just simply even the best thing kind of like gets on your nerves. So I really think there's like a level of perfectionism over here. This journey simply can be talking about understanding. Like, who was that? Mike Jagger that said, like, you might not get what you need, you might not get what you want, but you might get what you need. And let me add to it, because what you need might actually turn out to be what you need to have, what's the best for you. And let's check that. Night of, again, I overdone this reading again. I said like 30 minutes or less, but that's why you're having all these minis, and the minis can kind of like, you can quickly jump in and refresh your memory. I cannot talk today. I'm a Mercury retrograde. Look at that. This is lovely, actually. I didn't know that halal means smart. Pardon me, smart means that's actually, they even these cards have in Croatian language, which is my language. Halal. Halal. That is clearly about transition, just like that card. Just as I told you here, you're no longer feeling constrained. You're no longer feeling certain things are not going anywhere. You're no longer feeling that there is no light at the end of the tunnel. You're no longer feeling that you are going to be financially destitute. You're no longer feeling guilt. You are actually able to understand the transition that is happening. You guys are really finalizing. These are 2 karma cards in your reading. You're really finalizing. This is like right now. So this tells me now for you is August, because I'm reading for August. Now. It literally be in the present. Literally think, okay, if I'm just right now landed on this planet, would this make sense? Not all these knowledges that you have encountered, which is kind of like telling me that you're kind of you're going with that. This is kind of like your spiel. I have this prepared. How about thinking that you don't have it prepared? Thinking, because that energy, remember that I told you about this reverse energy of the Hangman, is really talking about, okay, why don't you observe? Because that observation and sort of like saying, okay, I'll do it your way, can actually teach you something about yourself. And I really think this is a big month, because if you try to struggle with that energy, it can be hard. It can be like swimming upstream, right? But if you release, the doors will be opening up for you, because you are actually getting to this next stage and learning something, and almost like improving yourself, bringing yourself to the next level. There's like another dimension that you guys are going to get, and this dimension can be simply new perspective. It could be that this person who maybe was just a fling is now becoming the person. You might finally say, okay, well, actually the shoe fits. It's maybe not, stiletto, but heck, I don't even like stilettos that much. They look nice, but only for an hour or for 2. So this is a shoe that fits, guys. And you are kind of learning the big lesson of what is important. and how do you fit into that. So my dear Capricorn, this is the most complex Capricorn reading that I ever had, and you're really mulling it over, you know, what you're doing. So do things for the right reasons, and as long as you kind of like follow that through, that you also have to kind of like mate with somebody who actually also has a soul and their life experiences and everything, you know, they are bringing to the table, they are having equal power in that kind of like equation, then also that they are transferring some of that power in you and vice versa. It's kind of like that flow that goes back and forth is going to be very important. Again, guys, check your ascendant, check your moon sign, very important, to kind of like look into that. But don't forget that you'll be moving forward with not doing much, with simply kind of like taking in all these experiences that you had so far and allowing others to actually have input. So that's going to be really important. And guys, if you want a private reading with me, contact me at cattarot.ca. I have been recently shifting how I do things, and it's almost going to be done. Of course, Mercury retrograde and every reading taking 5 days is not helping, but hopefully I'll be able to turn around readings soon. And so this is kind of a good opportunity for kind of like to jump on that wagon. Again, cattarot.ca. All the stuff is in the description, and don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and comment if you want your reading sooner rather than later. Love you guys, and have a wonderful August.